Ahmed sat at his usual desk, third row from the window, where the sunlight spilled onto the wooden surface. He liked this spot. It wasn't too close to the teacher's desk, where questions were flung like darts, nor too far back, where whispers carried secrets he didn't care to hear. It was a space that allowed him to simply be, a quiet observer in a classroom filled with noise. Today, the lesson was on fractions, but Ahmed's mind wasn't on math. He was tracing the edge of his notebook, his pencil moving in slow circles. He wasn't bored, nor was he distracted. He was thinking. Ahmed's thoughts often wandered like this, exploring questions that no one asked aloud. He wondered why the classroom always felt colder in the mornings, even when the sun was bright. He thought about the teacher's voice, how it softened slightly when speaking to quieter students but became sharp when someone laughed too loudly. Ahmed noticed these little things, and though they seemed small, they filled his mind like pieces of a puzzle he was determined to solve. As the teacher wrote on the board, Ahmed glanced at the rows of desks. His classmates were absorbed in their own worlds, some scribbling furiously, others leaning back as if the lesson was a distant hum. Ahmed's eyes returned to his notebook, where he began sketching an idea that had taken root in his mind, a diagram of the classroom, each desk a square, with arrows pointing toward patterns he'd observed. Ahmed loved patterns. They were everywhere if you knew where to look. He saw them in the way students always chose the same seats, in the rhythm of the teacher's chalk against the board, in the way the sunlight shifted as the day wore on. Patterns were like hidden stories, and Ahmed liked to imagine himself as the only one who could see them. The teacher's voice called the class to attention, and Ahmed quickly shut his notebook, the unfinished diagram tucked away for later. He answered the question posed to him without hesitation, his calm confidence surprising even the teacher. When the bell rang, Ahmed lingered as usual, watching his classmates pour out of the room in a blur of chatter and laughter. He stayed seated, his hand resting on the closed notebook. There was no rush. As the room emptied, Ahmed looked around one last time, the quiet settling over him like a blanket. He didn't mind being alone here. To him, the classroom wasn't just a place to learn. It was a canvas of moments, patterns, and stories waiting to be pieced together. He smiled to himself, stood up, and walked out, his mind already racing with ideas for the next diagram, the next observation, the next story the classroom would tell him.